Hi, my name is Daniel Glass, and today I'd like to share with you the exciting and interesting world of classic American drumming. I'm a drummer, I'm a writer, I'm a historian, and one of the things that I've spent a lot of time in my career doing is bringing classic and historical styles of drumming to today's player, today's musician, trying to share with them that this music is really exciting and cool and vibrant, and they have a lot they can learn from it. I first joined Royal Crown Revue in 1994. It was a tremendously exciting time period and an exciting experience for me to become involved with a band that was doing something really unique and innovative. Royal Crown Revue is a band that dedicates itself to the music and fashion and the style of classic American music, which essentially is music from the 20s all the way up through the mid-60s. And we try to explore those eras of music in a whole variety of different ways. We play swing music, we play rhythm and blues music, we play bebop, we play early rock and roll, we play some rockabilly, and we throw it all into this blender and create our own kind of sonic mixture. And it's a tremendous band.
Royal Crown Revue!
How you doing, kids? It's called a contender.
I've had a lot of amazing opportunities with Royal Crown Revue to travel all over the world. We've played in Australia, Europe, Japan. We just went to Russia and Asia, of course. We've toured with the B-52s, the Pretenders. We've opened for Kiss and Neil Diamond. You know, such a wide variety of musical acts. We also recorded with Bette Midler, and our horn section just toured the world with her for about a year and a half. We've done a lot of film and television work. Our big break came in 1994 with Jim Carrey movie The Mask, and our music was used throughout that, and it's kind of been a calling card for our band for years. We also have been on Conan O'Brien, The Today Show, festivals all over the world, the Playboy Jazz Festival, the JVC Jazz Festival in New York City, the Reading Rock Festival, the Roskilde Festival in Europe, and we just had an amazing opportunity to travel all over the world. Through working with vintage drums and listening to all this classic American music, I got interested in trying to get to the roots of what these styles were all about. Because one thing I realized, being on the road, a lot of people were excited about what we were doing, but nobody really had any information about how these drummers played, how you're supposed to actually play this style of music appropriately. So I started doing a lot of research, and one of the things I decided to do was try and track down some of these drummers that I've been listening to. So I've interviewed over 50 drummers since over the last 5 or 6 years. Legends of the drums like Louis Bellson, Earl Palmer, Nick Fatul, Hal Blaine, Panama Francis, guys that are from the swing era, the rhythm and blues and early rock and roll era. I've learned a tremendous amount, not only about how you play the drums in these styles, but about the time period, what was going on, why the drums sounded the way they did, why the drums looked the way they did, how the drum set came together. The drum set is truly a reflection of the development of 20th century pop music in America, because it's made up of a whole variety of ethnic elements from all these different countries. You have Chinese cymbals, Greek cymbals, Chinese tom-toms, wood blocks, cowbells, and of course European tradition of the bass drum and the snare drum coming from a marching band, a martial background. And all these things are thrown together with an African-American sensibility, giving it swing, and that's how you get our pop music. So if you look at the development of the drum kit and you check out the development of music over, you know, from say the teens, the invention of jazz, up until the Beatles, there's just such an incredible development there, and there's so much information that can be learned. In the last few years, I've published 2 different books. One is looks at a lot of traditional drumming styles through the music of Royal Crown Revue. The other one is a history of rock and roll drumming that takes rock and roll all the way from 1948 up to 2000. It covers over 500 drummers and over 28 subgenres of rock and roll. I also wrote the chapter on rock and roll drumming for the Encyclopedia of Percussion.
And in 2008, Alfred Publishing released the Commandments of Early Rhythm and Blues Drumming, a book and CD package that I wrote with the well-known funk and R&B drummer Zorro.
What I do in my clinic presentation is I try to take 6 decades of development from the very beginnings of the drum set back in, around the turn of the century, around 1900, all the way up to sort of the modern conception of what drum set playing is.
Jazz music in the 1920s was the equivalent to like punk rock of today, if you can believe that. The first drum sets really were called trap sets. They didn't have any cymbals, or they didn't have big cymbals like this. They didn't have big tom-toms like this. It had a kick and a snare and some little traps that were used for noisemakers. Gene Krupa did more for drumming and drumming today. We have more to be thankful to this guy for than you can imagine. Gee, why don't we take 2 cymbals, instead of me having to hold this cymbal and choke it to get that kind of feel, why don't we take 2 cymbals and put them together? So we moved from the 40s, where there's a lot of bebop, to the 50s. Now what was going on at the same time as bebop? Just because there was bebop, did people want to stop dancing? What do you think? No, people wanted to continue dancing. In fact, most people wanted to continue dancing.
The moon was new, so was love, and still this heart of mine keeps singing, lover, where can you be? Well, you came at last, love had its day, that day has passed, you're gone away, and still this heart of mine keeps singing, lover, where can you be? I remember every little thing you say and do, 'cause I'm so lonely. Every road I walk along with you. Hey! No wonder.
One of the things that people take away from my clinic is the understanding that this music is alive and vital today, and that they can use it in their own playing. And it doesn't matter whether you're a drummer or not. What I'm trying to do is help people open up their minds and their ears and their eyes to see stuff that might potentially look very different or sound very different, and find the things in that music that they can relate to find the rock and roll in that music, and to understand that this music was rock and roll of its day.
That's Bam Bam Danny Glass on the Skins. Hey.